This is Radio Health Journal. I'm Nancy Benson. This week, the struggle for identity when twins lose their other half.
Often they feel like they're half of themselves. They don't know how to see themselves in life any longer. They don't know who they are.
Twinless twins, when Radio Health Journal continues.
I'm Reed Pence, the producer and host of Radio Health Journal. If you like listening to Radio Health Journal, you'll also like our sister show, Viewpoints, which covers a wide array of topics from education to history to the environment. Here's a preview of what they're covering this week on Viewpoints.
We know food is so important, not only to feed our bodies, but to feed our souls and feed our spirits.
The cost of rising food prices as the holidays quickly approach. Then,
my grandmother was always preparing stews and soups, and there was always rice puffing away in our rice cooker.
The familiar feel of Korean fare. I'm Marty Peterson.
And I'm Gary Price. These stories in depth this week on your public affairs magazine, Viewpoints.
Listen to Radio Health Journal and Viewpoints on your favorite radio station, and subscribe and listen anytime on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and Spotify. Also, follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Radio Health Journal.
Back in 1961, the world was a different, much larger place. There were parts of the world that were still truly remote and untouched. Exploring them was the passion of Michael Rockefeller, the 23-year-old son of New York Governor Nelson Rockefeller. That passion cost Michael his life as he and another man paddled a dugout canoe in New Guinea, north of Australia.
He was trying to get to a small river and had to go across a very large delta of a huge river. His boat capsized and was swept out to sea.
That's Michael's twin sister, Mary R. Morgan, author of Beginning with the End, a memoir of twin loss and healing.
And he eventually, after a day of trying to paddle or work with this capsized boat with this other man who was on the boat with him, they couldn't do it, and so he decided to swim, and he was never seen again.
Mary went with her father to New Guinea to search for her brother and was emotionally broken when they failed to find his body. But on her return home, Mary got little sympathy from her mother, only the admonition, "Get a hold of yourself. The one thing we cannot do is cry." And so she held back the tears for decades.
24, 25 years later. That's how deeply I repressed the whole thing and denied it, denied the death and repressed the grief. I mean, in the early stages, I even felt I saw Michael. And people do this. I mean, I knew in some place in my brain that he was gone. Everybody told me he was gone, that the chances of surviving were nil. And yet, on a whole other part inside me at the same time, I felt he must be somewhere and maybe he was going to come home. And I felt I saw him on the street in New York. And then I would follow this person. And then if they turned around, I found it wasn't him. But I still had that hope. That's all part of the natural healing process of deep personal loss.
Morgan says the death of a twin's other half carries a much deeper psychological punch than the loss of another sibling. But she didn't realize it until she despaired over the loss of one relationship after another.
I was looking for my twin in male relationships. That's one of the things that happens, is that they keep looking to recreate this bond. And that makes it very difficult for them to find acceptable and meaningful relationships because these people who are not twins don't understand their expectations. So I think that was a big factor in the loss of especially my second marriage.
But Morgan's therapist didn't understand that. Morgan says many twins tell her the same thing. Therapists just don't get that it's different to be a twinless twin. It doesn't help to tell twins to move on when the healing process has barely begun.
I wanted to understand why I was so lost when I was, quote, only a fraternal twin. And my therapist had told me that only identical twins who have complementary DNAs are going to have this extended grieving period. And I was only like other siblings in the family, and they had all moved on, and 7 years had gone by. And so I needed to move on with my life also. So I repressed my grief once again. But when I started to realize that there was something special in me that was really present that I needed to accept, I went to try to do research. There was not one single thing written on bereavement and twins.
The discovery moved Morgan to become a psychotherapist herself, with a specialty in issues surrounding twins and twin loss. She says the demand is increasing. With more moms in their 40s and more in vitro fertilization, the number of twins has increased by more than 75% since 1980. And whether they're identical or fraternal, Morgan says twins live in a relationship to each other from conception.
The new sonogram studies are showing that the little fetuses are reaching out to each other in a primitive kind of relationship from the age of 14 weeks. So you can see that by the time 9 months has gone by, the sense of who you are as you arrive into the world is very much factored on the fact that there is another individual there with you.
Morgan says that makes the creation of a sense of individual identity a real challenge, especially as is often the case with an older mom who has other kids.
Twins have a sense that the other twin is there for them. Their expectation of a kind of understanding is deeper, that they have a kind of mutual understanding of where each other is and how each other thinks. That's not expected or true with other relationships and other sibling relationships.
Morgan saw this vividly after 9/11. She was asked to lead a bereavement group set up by some of the 46 twins who lost their other half in the disaster. She heard the same thing over and over.
They get very used to being in relationship to each other, and their sense of I is really seen in the framework of being a we. So that if they don't have the experiences of finding out exactly who they are in their own right, if they aren't encouraged in a really loving way to have individual experiences, they are going to be really deprived, even further deprived, when one of them loses the other, because often they feel like they're half of themselves.
Morgan says all of this has implications for parents of young twins as they attempt to strike a balance between unity and individuality.
I'm talking about the parents encouraging the little ones, when they're really little, to start having experiences in their own right, to start painting a picture by themselves. One doing something with a dad, one doing something with a mother, so that they begin to have individual experiences, and then being sensitive to their feelings, beginning to encourage them maybe to think about being in separate classes within the same school, let's say. Beginning the idea of maybe having a separate bedroom, but not pulling the twins apart. I think it's not helpful for twins always to be dressed alike.
Morgan says twins will always have a special connection, but they need to be able to be individuals as well. Sooner or later, twins will be separated to live their own lives. You can find out more about Mary R. Morgan, her work, and her book at beginningwiththeend.com. Much more support is available at twinlesstwins.org or through a link on our website, radiohealthjournal.org. Our studio producer is Jason Dickey. I'm Nancy Benson.
Radio Health Journal returns in just a moment.
When it comes to health, there is one area that can be difficult to talk about: colon health. Yet this critical area of well-being is heavily influenced by lifestyle choices. Research shows that 75% of colon cancer cases can be avoided by individual actions, and diet is one critical factor. Registered dietitian Courtney Romano is a health advisor for the California Table Grape Commission.
To promote colon health, a diet rich in whole plant-based foods and low in red meat, especially processed meat, is recommended. An easy first step is to eat more vegetables and fruit, including grapes. Fresh grapes have over 1,600 beneficial plant compounds, including antioxidants and other polyphenols. Research indicates that consuming grapes every day may help support a healthy colon.
Maintaining a healthy diet and weight, not smoking, exercising regularly, and getting screened are other important colon health steps. Grapes of all colors, red, green, and black, are part of a healthy diet. Visit grapesfromcalifornia.com for more information.
As we grow older, exercise becomes increasingly important. It can help reduce aches and pains, slow the progression of musculoskeletal conditions, maintain strength and flexibility, and help prevent falls and injuries. All keys to maintaining independence. But how do you get started? Parking farther away from building doors or taking the stairs are starting points. After that, Dr. Michael L. Parks, spokesperson for the American Academy of Orthopedic Surgeons, says to look for a balanced routine.
Be sure to talk with your medical doctor first. Then consider starting slowly. A safe exercise program has several components you can rotate through on different days. First, aerobic conditioning, like walking, water aerobics, or biking. Flexibility and agility exercises, like yoga or Tai Chi. Strength training with free weights or bands. And finally, relaxation techniques.
Organizations such as your local community center can offer resources about effective exercises. For exercise safety tips from the American Academy of Orthopedic Surgeons, visit orthoinfo.org.
Cataracts are the #1 cause of vision loss in America and a common part of aging. Now, there is an opportunity for people with cataracts to enhance their vision thanks to innovative technologies in cataract replacement lenses. Acrosoft IQ Vivity is a first-of-its-kind lens, delivering high-quality 20/20 distance vision, excellent intermediate, and functional near vision. People who chose Vivity reported improved vision at various distances for activities such as watching their grandchildren play, working on a computer, and reading. 90% of patients with Vivity stated they are satisfied with their results and would get it again. To learn more about Vivity, visit mycataracts.com. Acrosoft IQ Vivity Extended Vision family of IOLs. Important product information. Description. The Acrosoft IQ Vivity Extended Vision IOL is a type of IOL used to focus images clearly onto the back of your eye or retina to allow clear vision after the cataract removal, providing clear distance vision, better intermediate, and some near vision compared to what a monofocal IOL would provide. There is a chance you may still need glasses for distance, intermediate, and/or near vision. Side effects include visual disturbances such as glare, rings around lights, starbursts, and a decrease in ability to distinguish objects from their background, especially in dim lighting. These side effects may make it more difficult to see in some situations. Contrast sensitivity, an important measure of visual function, is the ability to distinguish objects from their background, especially in dim lighting. In the Acrosoft IQ Vivity IOL clinical study, contrast sensitivity in dim lighting was reduced in patients who received the Acrosoft IQ Vivity IOL compared to those who received the monofocal IOL. Attention! As with any surgery, there are risks involved. Prior to surgery, ask your eye doctor to provide you with the patient information brochure for the proposed Acrosoft IQ Vivity Extended Vision IOL to be implanted. This document will further inform you of the risks and benefits associated with this IOL. Discuss any questions about possible risks and benefits with your eye doctor, as well as your medical condition and any eye disease you may have. For more information, visit mycataracts.com.
And that's Radio Health Journal for this week. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram to learn more. And check Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and Spotify for a library of past programs. Plus, you'll always find previous segments and information about our guests at radiohealthjournal.org. Join us again next week for another edition of Radio Health Journal.
Coming up next week on Radio Health Journal.
These small facilities are having to take care of patients that they really don't have the resources or the talent to take care of. They do the best they can.
Short-staffed rural hospitals facing an influx of critically ill COVID patients.
Then peripheral artery disease.
Patients can become disabled to some extent. They also can have a risk of having an amputation of the lower limb. And in worst case, they can actually die.
All that and more on Radio Health Journal.